Welcome to Learn English Through Stories, where every story teaches and every word matters. Learn English. Live the story. Let's begin.
He was never on time, but he always came. That's what I told myself, sitting on the bench under the neem tree outside school. It was my usual spot. The wood was cracked and rough, and there was a weird stain on one end. But it was our place, Dad and me. He worked a lot, but he always picked me up after school. Sometimes late, sure, but always with that tired smile and a bottle of cold mango juice he bought from the shop around the corner. I kicked my feet back and forth, watching the gate as parents rolled up in shiny cars or dusty vans. One by one, the kids disappeared, their voices fading as tires crunched gravel and teachers waved goodbye. My best friend Miriam left at 3:18. I checked. My stomach grumbled. I opened my lunchbox. One half-eaten sandwich, a bruised banana, crumbs, no thanks. I checked my phone, 4% battery. I turned it off to save the little juice left. The sun felt hot on my neck. I slid into the shade of the tree and leaned back. I wasn't worried, not really, not yet. By 3:45, only a few of us were left. I watched a boy chase a plastic bottle across the pavement like it was a football. A little girl stood by the wall, chewing her sleeve, looking around like she was lost. She wasn't. Her mom came 2 minutes later, carrying a pink helmet. Now it was just me. And the silence. At 3:59, the security guard began locking the gate. "Wait," I stood. He blinked at me, surprised. "Still here? My dad's on the way." He shrugged. "All right, just don't leave the school grounds, okay?" I nodded, sat back down. My stomach had that weird fluttery feeling, like it was full of bees. Not panic, not yet. But something was brewing under the surface. At 4:10, my legs hurt. I'd been sitting too long. I stood up, stretched, paced a bit. The schoolyard felt bigger now that it was empty. The benches, the trees, the flagpole, they all looked lonely. Even the breeze felt different. I pulled out my phone again. Dead. Black screen. No signal. Great. I walked back to the gate and leaned against it. My heart wasn't racing, but it had picked up the pace, like it was warming up for a sprint. Then I saw a familiar figure at the far corner of the street, tall, jacket slung over one arm, striding fast. My breath caught. Was that Dad? Number not even close. Just some man walking his dog. He didn't even glance my way. I sat down again, tried to act cool. I didn't want anyone to see I was getting scared, so I kept my head down, even though I felt like I was sitting on a ticking time bomb. That's when I realized something. I didn't know his work number, didn't know Mom's either. Everything was saved on my phone, my dead, useless phone. I suddenly felt smaller, the kind of small that doesn't show on the outside. Just then I heard footsteps. I looked up fast, hope flashing through me like a match being lit. But it wasn't Dad. It was Ms. Huda, my science teacher, keys jangling in her hand. "Sarah?" she asked gently. "Are you all right?" "Yeah," I lied. "Dad's coming." She gave a kind smile, the kind adults give when they're not buying it, but don't want to make a scene. She paused. "Want me to wait with you?" I shook my head quickly. "No, it's okay. He's just late." She nodded, wished me well, and left. I was alone again, and this time I felt it. The sky had started to change color. It wasn't night yet, but the light was fading, soft and gold at the edges, like everything had been dipped in tea. The big neem tree no longer gave me shade. It looked more like a crooked skeleton now. The wind had stopped. Even the birds were quiet. I stood up, walked in a slow circle, sat again. I felt like a hamster in a cage, moving but getting nowhere. A car turned the corner. My heart jumped, then sank. It was a blue sedan with tinted windows. Not Dad. Then another, a white SUV. Wrong again. Every sound of an engine made me jerk my head up, only to feel more disappointed each time. I pulled my backpack closer, opened the small pocket where I kept emergency money. 5 coins, just enough for juice or chips, not enough for a taxi. I thought about walking home. It wasn't far, maybe 15 minutes, but I'd never done it alone. And somehow the road looked different now, bigger, colder. Then I remembered the small corner shop across the street, the one with the old freezer and handwritten signs taped to the glass. Maybe they had a phone. Maybe I could call someone. Maybe. I looked both ways and crossed quickly. The shop door creaked when I pushed it open. The man behind the counter looked up, surprised. He was old, maybe older than my grandfather, with thick glasses and a dark sweater, even though it was warm. "Can I help you?" I cleared my throat. "Hi, my dad was supposed to pick me up, but I think something happened. My phone's dead. Can I maybe use your phone?" He stared at me for a second, then nodded slowly and reached under the counter. He placed a small gray phone in front of me, the kind with buttons and a tiny screen. I held it like it was a magic stone. Then my stomach dropped. I didn't know the number. I actually didn't know anyone's number. My fingers hovered over the keys. I typed 3 digits, deleted them, typed again. Nothing felt right. My brain was running in circles, chasing numbers that weren't there. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I don't remember the number." The man gave a small nod, not annoyed, not surprised, just understanding. "You want to wait here a bit?" he asked. I shook my head. "I think I'll go back." "All right, be safe." I gave a polite smile, left the shop, and walked back to the school gate, which now looked taller than before, heavier. That's when I saw a car slow down near the curb. A woman in a blue scarf rolled down her window. "You okay, sweetheart?" she asked gently. "Do you need help?" She looked kind. Her voice was calm. She even sounded like someone's mom. But something inside me tightened. All the safety lessons from school came flooding back. "Thank you," I said politely, "but I'm fine. My dad's coming soon." She nodded, didn't push, and drove off. Still, my heart was thudding. I walked back to the bench and sat down, this time with my back to the street. I didn't want anyone else to see that I was barely holding it together. I rested my chin on my knees and stared at the gravel. A single ant crawled over my shoelace. The breeze picked up, brushing hair across my face. That's when the thought hit me. What if he forgot me? Not because he didn't care, but because something came up. What if something happened? What if I had to sleep here? Would the guard come back? Would the teachers know? My brain was spinning like a fan on high. And just as the first tear formed, I heard it. A voice, breathless, sharp, full of fear. "Sarah! Sarah!" I turned so fast my backpack nearly tipped off the bench. There he was, Dad, jogging toward me, face pale, hair messy, eyes wide. His jacket was half off one arm. He wasn't even wearing his work shoes, just sandals. He looked like someone who had been running through 100 bad thoughts in a row. He stopped in front of me, hands on his knees, gasping. Then he stood straight, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "I'm so sorry." He didn't say it like people do when they spill tea or forget to send an email. He said it like someone who knew they'd really messed up. "I lost track of time," he said, voice low and rushed. "I had this meeting, and my phone was on silent. I didn't see the messages until I stepped outside. When I saw the time..." He shook his head. I panicked. He looked at me, then at the locked school gate behind me, back at me, then down at my dusty shoes. "You've been out here this whole time?" I nodded slowly. He closed his eyes for a second, like he needed a moment to swallow the guilt. I didn't want to cry, not now, not in front of him, but a few tears had already made their way down. I didn't wipe them. He opened his arms. I hesitated for just a second, then stepped forward and hugged him, tight. He held me like he hadn't seen me in weeks, one hand on my back, the other cupped around my head, like he was afraid I'd vanish if he let go. We stood like that for a long time, not saying much. Sometimes silence says more than words ever could. Finally, he pulled back slightly. "Did you eat?" "No." "Did anyone bother you?" "No." "Did you walk anywhere?" I nodded. "Tried the shop. I didn't know your number." He rubbed his forehead. "Of course, I should have made you memorize it. That's on me." He was clearly beating himself up, and I could see it was real. "I didn't know what to do," I said quietly. I waited. I tried to stay calm, but, I thought maybe you forgot. He looked shattered for a second. Then he said, "I didn't forget you, Sarah. Never that. I forgot the time, but never you." I nodded. I believed him. I wasn't angry. Not really. I was just worn out, drained from the inside out. He took my backpack, slung it over his shoulder, opened the car door for me like he always did. This time I didn't roll my eyes at the gesture. This time I said, "Thanks." He smiled, but it was the tired kind, the kind that says, "I know I failed, but I'm glad I have another chance." We pulled out of the school lot and turned toward home. The sky was a deep orange now, the kind that shows up in paintings but rarely in real life. Dad turned on the radio, then turned it off again. "I thought I was being responsible," he said suddenly, "focusing on work, providing, but today I felt like the most irresponsible man alive." I glanced at him. "You're not irresponsible," I said. He looked over, surprised. "You're just human." He gave a small laugh, more like a breath than a sound. And just like that, something inside both of us began to settle. We didn't say much the rest of the ride. We didn't need to. Sometimes just knowing someone showed up, even late, even a mess, is enough. That night, when I went to bed, I plugged in my phone first. Then I scribbled something in my notebook. "Next time you feel forgotten, remember this. Being loved doesn't always look perfect. Sometimes it just shows up a little late." That night, after dinner, Dad didn't go back to work. He didn't open his laptop. He didn't check his phone. Instead, he brought 2 mugs of tea, one for him, one for me, and sat across the table like we were equals in some quiet, grown-up club. "I'm glad you're okay," he said softly. I nodded. "Me too." He looked at me for a while before speaking again. "I want you to know something," he said. "You handled today better than most adults would. You stayed calm. You didn't make any bad choices. That's something to be proud of." My cheeks got warm. I didn't say anything, but those words stayed with me. They still do. Before bed, I packed my bag for the next day. Books, pencil case, water bottle. And I added something new, a small laminated card with 3 emergency phone numbers written on it, just in case. I also checked my phone, 97% battery. I smiled. I knew life wouldn't always go the way I expected. But now I had a tiny plan, a tiny shield, a tiny step forward. And sometimes that's enough to turn a bad day into a life lesson. The next morning at school, I saw Miriam. "You okay?" she asked, swinging her backpack. I'm over one shoulder. "I'm fine," I said. She frowned. "You sure? You look like you cried." I smiled, just a little. We walked to class together. That afternoon, I didn't sit under the neem tree. I waited a few feet away, not out of fear, but because I didn't want to be stuck in the same loop. When Dad pulled up, he was exactly 4 minutes early. He waved like it was a normal day, but his eyes were watching me carefully, like he needed to see that I was really okay. I opened the door, climbed in, and said, "Hi, Baba." He smiled. "Hi, sweetheart." And in that moment, I realized being late didn't erase his love, and being scared didn't make me weak. It just made me real, strong in a different way. That's what I took from that day. Not just the memory, but the growth. Because sometimes love looks like hugs, sometimes it looks like mango juice, and sometimes it just looks like someone finally showing up when it matters most.
Key idioms you learned. Brewing under the surface, emotions building quietly inside. Warming up for a sprint, starting to feel nervous or excited. Sitting on a ticking time bomb, being in a risky or tense situation. Not buying it, not believing someone. Like a hamster in a cage, stuck doing something unproductive. Jerk my head up, move quickly in surprise or hope. Running in circles, trying to solve something but failing repeatedly. Came flooding back, returning suddenly and strongly to memory. Barely holding it together, struggling to stay emotionally calm. Spinning like a fan on high, overthinking or mentally overwhelmed. Swallow the guilt, accept responsibility or regret. Beating himself up, blaming oneself harshly. Drained from the inside out, emotionally exhausted. Turn a bad day into a life lesson, learn from a difficult situation. Useful expressions and phrases. He was never on time, but he always came. He wasn't punctual, but he never forgot or failed to show up. You're just human, everyone makes mistakes, it's normal. I had a tiny plan. A tiny shield. I made a small preparation that helped me feel safer or more ready. Love doesn't always look perfect. Sometimes, it just shows up late. People who love you might make mistakes, but their love is still real. Thanks for watching this episode from Learn English Through Stories, where every story teaches, and every word matters. If you learned a new expression or idiom today, give this video a like. Leave a comment to share your favorite part or what you'd like to learn next. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new story. See you in the next one.